You know, I mean, that bachelor's degree probably set me back 2-3 years at least. But I've been listening to her to her trying to give me very good advice and knowing it was wrong for a long time. And one semester I decided, you know what? I'm just gonna prove how wrong she is. I'm gonna do everything she says. I'm gonna fill out her little worksheets and do her little outlines and plans. I'm gonna be her good little writing monkey, and she'll see what awful, terrible cookie cutter pablum crap comes out of that kind of process. And I wrote the first book of the Dresden Files. Which you know, it showed her. And then that was how I got started. I remember coming in and her reading the first chapter of the book and going, well, you've done it. And I said, what's that? And she said, you'll sell this. I don't know if this will be the first thing you sell, but you'll be able to sell this at some point. And I said, okay. And you know, that's pretty much how it went from there.
Another question I have for you is with what got you the idea in the setting for the Codex Alera series? I know that's become a really popular series now.
Yeah, the Codex Alera series. That actually started in some online writing workshops I was in as a vet. There was just one of these discussions going on, and you know the kind of discussion. It's the one where somebody starts off saying something, and then somebody else answers, and there's a couple of replies, and then after that, if you're going to be involved in the discussion, you hit the reply button, your caps lock key, and then you get started. And it was that kind of talk. And on one side of the discussion was somebody who was holding with the opinion, they were with the notion of the holy idea. You know, if you had a good enough idea, it didn't really matter how terrible you were at writing. If your idea was good enough, you would still be an awesome success. And they said, look at Jurassic Park. That was them that said that, not me. I was on the side, by this time being a convert, I was on the other side with the craft guys who said, look, if your writing craft is good and solid, if you're a talented writer, you can take the oldest, most worn out idea and make it into something that's cool and fun. And you know, you pointed how many versions of Romeo and Juliet there have been. You can always do something new with this that kind of gives it your own thing. So this idea was going back and forth, and it kind of was coming down between one really mouthy guy on one side and one really mouthy guy on my side. It was me. And on the other side, the guy says, all right, you know what? Why don't you put your money where your mouth is? Why don't you show us? Why don't you write a book that's built out of a terrible idea? And you know what? And I'll give you the central idea for it, and then you can write a great book out of it. And being, you know, young and a loudmouth, I said, no. Why don't you give me 2 terrible ideas, and I'll use them both? So the guy says, all right. Terrible idea number 1. Lost Roman Legion. I am sick of Lost Roman Legion stories. All the Lost Roman Legion should have been found by now, so that's the first one. I said, okay, and what's idea number 2? And he says, Pokemon. So I dug into it, and I started researching, and Lost Roman Legion is generally, that's the story about the 9th Hibernian Legion, which apparently marched off into a thunderstorm and vanished and was never seen again, you know, while in friendly territory. And so I said, okay, so let's start our fantasy story with this Lost Roman Legion. Where do they go? Obvious, land of the Pokemon. And Pokemon, as it turns out, is also it's also 2 ideas put together. The first one being the Shinto religion, the idea of the divine in nature, the idea that all natural objects, you know, whatever they are, whether they're a mountain or a stream or an ancient tree, have a spirit, a divine spirit inside them called a kami. And that a mountain will have a great big kami that lives in it, and you better respect it. And a pebble, you should also respect the pebble's kami, but if you don't, what's it going to do? Because it's tiny. So that was Shinto. Part 1 of Pokemon was Shinto, and then part 2 of Pokemon is professional wrestling. And that's how they fit together. So that was where the Codex Alera got started, was on a bet. I spent some time putting it together and thinking about it, and I gave the Roman Legion I had to march in and start doing what Roman legions always did, which was just sort of being way better at killing everything than everybody else. And gave them a couple of thousand years to ferment and put a society together. And I was really getting into it at this point. I went back to the guy and I said, I've got a really great idea, but I actually think I could do something with it, so I'm not going to be posting it here. I'm going to see if I can get it sold to somebody. And the guy said, so in other words, I'm right. Yeah, you were right, man. I sometimes wish I still had the hard drives from back then. I could go figure out who that was. I think the best revenge is living well, you know.
And I guess the question is how you like having the Drift Files now being a role-playing game?
Oh, it's an RPG?
Yeah.
I gotta be careful. Fred's right here. And, yeah, purple guy with the purple hair down here on the very end.
Oh, there he is.
Fred actually went and developed a game that was sort of based on my writing process in many ways. So when you're putting the game together, you're looking at a bunch of different things that are kind of parts of my writing craft, and they decided to build it into the game, and which is somewhat odd but really neat. And plus, they put out the source book that goes along with it, which is like all the characters and everything, and it's like, oh cool, now I don't have to go look on the Dresden Wiki anymore. You can find something out, because let me tell you, man, the fans know that material better than I do. I mean, when I'm writing a book, I'll write a first draft, and then I'll go back and I'll clean it up a bit, and then some of the beta readers get to see it, and I'll take their opinions and incorporate that into the book if I think it's appropriate, and then it goes off to the editor, and the editor has comments. And then there's like a line editor, and I'll be changing things for them. And then there's a final version, that's the proof version that I'll make corrections to if need be. So by the time the books come out, I've seen, between 7 and 9 slightly different variations of the same stuff. Plus all the things that I thought about writing in my head and didn't write, when I was thinking of optional ways to get it done as we went along the line. So I've kind of got this cloud of possible Dresden books in my head, in my memory, but the fans have only seen the final version. They'll put a wiki together. It's like, oh, thank goodness, somebody did this. It's so much neater than the inside of my skull.